on today's Radisode.
Hello, people of Earth. Welcome to my e-bike review of the Pivot Shuttle SL. This is a super lightweight, I don't know if that's what SL stands for, probably, super lightweight new bike from Pivot, and it is based on the Pivot Trail 429. So a very much downcountry trail bike that they have. The Shuttle SL feels like a regular bike. It does not feel like you're pedaling a beast of an e-bike like the Shuttle AM that I did a demo on and I rode. I am still blown away by how nimble and light and even a little bit sketchy at times the Pivot Shuttle SL was. I really look forward to sharing my thoughts with you if you're considering going with a lightweight e-bike.
Bike Brain here in Las Vegas was kind enough to let me demo it. I'm gonna be very kind to it because this is the first ride, and it feels good, man. It feels really good. Instead of a display, see, there's got 3 green lights. So the 3 is a battery indicator. I think the green is maybe eco.
Go.
Oh yeah, that made it a lot easier. Woo. Nice. A little more up. Oh, now it's like purple. You see, that's purple. So this is, I think, the highest version, or highest assisted. Oh, it's cruising, man.
So the Shuttle SL is Shuttle's newest entry into the lightweight e-biking category. So it's competing with the Orbea Rise, Specialized Turbo Levo, and Turbo, I don't know if it's Turbo, but Kenevo SL versions. They're lighter weight bikes. Trek's EXE, I believe, is a lighter weight. It's not quite as light as the Shuttle SL is. Right off the bat, a few of the specs on it. I was able to demo a XTR, Team XTR version, which is basically their highest level, and it is around 11,400. Yikes! Very expensive. It's all XTR components, 150 Fox 36 fork up front with Kashima coating, of course, and 132 Fox in the rear. It also has carbon wheels, so that can maybe justify the price point a little bit more, maybe.
No.
Full carbon triangle, front and rear. And it has the new Fazua, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Stop laughing.
Fazua 60, Ride 60 engine. Between the Fazua engine and the battery, I think the battery is around 430 watt hour battery. So the whole bike itself was, I believe, right around 38 pounds, between 38 and 39, depending on your pedals and whatnot. Around that 38 pounds, my first full suspension bike that I bought was a Da Vinci Hectic. Good Canadian brand, 2006, I think. That was 37 pounds and change, full suspension.
Yeah! Woo!
Aluminum. And this felt way more nimble than that did, that's for sure. Has room for a bottle cage, very important. The Pivot Shuttle AM that I also did a demo on, hopefully you watched that video, that did not have room for a bottle cage. Come on.
Got it in white now, and white, I believe, is manpower, human power, no assist. Like, then it feels heavy. Even though this is a sub 40-pound bike, that's still a lot of weight when you're used to riding a 30-pound bike. So I'm climbing with no assist. You wouldn't want to do it for very long. So far, very initial impressions. Much bigger difference between this and that big, beefy, full battery, full power Pivot Shuttle AM or OG Pivot Shuttle. feel these brakes have not been worn in. Oh, really got to pull. Trying to give them some bite. Feeling good. Woo. Nice. Lifts nicely. All right. I'm gonna go up this hill. Try this booster. Oh yeah. There you go. So you hold it up for a couple seconds. Woo! And it just gives you that extra crank. That is very cool. That's a great feature of the Fazua.
I was strongly considering this bike, and I still kind of am, but at $11,400 price point, whee, whee, whee. But even with all of that, and it even had carbon rims. But that being said, price point aside, this really felt like you're riding a regular bike, and then every once in a while when you get pedaling and you're in that lower gear or whatever gear that the bike needs at that time, the Fazua 60 Newton meters that it produces, it just all of a sudden helps you along, and just boom, there you go. Really fun bike. So far, I've really enjoyed riding it. Now, the one of the really interesting things about it is the Fazua engine and the shifter, which I'll show on the video. You probably can see it right now. It's just on your thumb. It's really easy to move up and down and change from breeze to river to rocket. And then there's also a 12-second boost, which is really cool too. And I found it worked really, really well. Didn't always kick in like I thought it should, but 90% of the time when I was riding, I didn't have a problem with it. So the Fazua engine, kind of similar to the Shimano EP8. It is a little torquey, a little jumpy, if you will. I can compare it to both the Instinct and the Altitude PowerPlay e-bikes that have their own internal Rocky Mountain made their Dynami 4.0 engine. That's a really smooth torque where you start to pedal and it starts to go with you. With the Fazua engine and on the Shimano EP8 engine, I find them both pretty torquey. They both tend to jump ahead very, very quickly when you don't necessarily want them to. You can ride this thing with the power off, and it's a bit of a slog, but nowhere near like riding the Pivot Shuttle AM that I rode, the Instinct PowerPlay that I rode. Both of those are around that 48, 49 pound range. Yeah, you can ride it like a regular bike with the power off. So if there's ever any issue on the trail with your engine, you can just keep pedaling it with it off, which is great. The downside of it being light and slightly less suspension at 150, 132, and a head tube angle at 65.5 at the high bottom bracket, or 65 even on the low bottom bracket, is it does feel a little more sketchy at times when you're kind of going through some rocks or some gnar or some technical stuff. It does feel not as planted, which isn't surprising given what it is. Now I ride a Santa Cruz Tallboy version 4, and it's around 30 pounds, and it's 140. I've got a special fork on it. I've got a root beer Fox Factory 36 with 140 millimeters of travel. That bike, and it's got 120 on the rear. This bike feels certainly a little more comfortable on the downhill and dropping and doing little jumps and all of that. But it's kind of similar to that feel, but with a little more cushion. So it's pretty similar to riding that bike, other than just it's heavier, the feel of it. When I compare the Pivot Shuttle SL to the Pivot Shuttle AM, this is a much sleeker looking bike. It looks like a bike. That Pivot Shuttle AM has that down tube, and then where the engine is, it's like this big. Like it's big. It's big. The Shuttle SL is sleek. You could almost not tell. Certainly from afar, you couldn't tell that it's an e-bike. Also because the display is just built into the top tube. and there's no extra little display further up, which was a little bit of a downside for me. I actually like having the display that tells you how much battery life, mode you're in, tells you how many miles you've ridden. But it is sleek. It makes it very sleek, the nice little lighting, and I'll show a video here, the nice little lighting in it. So it looks like a regular bike, kind of like the new Fuel EXE. Like, you can't tell that that's an e-bike. One caveat, or two caveats maybe, with this particular bike and their engine. So one is, the battery is not easily removable. And a lot of e-bikes, that's the case. But I do want to point that out, and it's something to consider if you travel, and by travel I mean mostly fly. But if you want to take, like if you're flying with an e-bike, you have to take that battery out. You can't have it inside the bike and goes in the cargo area. So you have to take it out. Now, my understanding is you can take it out, but it involves, I think you even have to remove the motor, or at least slightly move the motor to get the battery out. And Pivot purposefully made it that way to make it about a pound lighter, to save some extra weight by not making it easily removable. So keep that in mind. If you're gonna be traveling a lot with this bike, it's not super easy to remove. The other thing about this bike is the engine is Fazua. And I don't know the answer to this because I don't own one yet, but is the Fazua motor, I don't know how the warranty works with that. Like, if something happens to it and you buy it from your local bike shop, say a Pivot Shuttle. But the other thing is with Fazua, I don't know if something happens with the engine. You take it to your local dealer, and then do they have to ship it off to Europe? Or is there a Fazua power plant manufacturing warehouse shop here in the States or in Canada? I don't know that. But it would be a little bit of concern for me. I would want to look into that before spending that kind of money, or especially buying used. You know, how does the warranty work with these? And if something happens with the engine, what happens? Like, does it have to be sent to, like I say, to Europe? And how long is that going to take? Do you get you know, again, this is where dealing with a good local bike shop, you know, maybe they have a loaner for you, but something to definitely consider, especially with e-bikes. And another, it's one of my biggest concerns, because I'm intending on buying an e-bike, maybe the Pivot Shuttle SL, is I don't know if I'd want to buy it used, only because of how the warranty works. I'd want to look into the warranty and make sure that if you buy it secondhand, does it still work? Less so with an analog or acoustic bike. You just take it to your local bike shop and they probably can fix the components or whatever. Where does it go if there's problems besides just simple fixes that your local bike shop can do? So it really comes down to what you want from your e-bike and the motor, how you want it to work. I didn't love that about the Fazua. I did like that it was less powerful, which isn't surprising given its smaller Newton meter size and total output. But it does give that little bit of a jerk, a little less natural feel than the Dynamy engine on the Instinct and the Altitude Power Plays. I'm struggling with this one in terms of whether I would buy this. Now, I will say I cannot justify spending $11,400 on a mountain bike, e-bike or otherwise. It's a lot. And even though this one is spec'd out to the nines, they do have a lower version, a race or team version. I think it's called the Team Pivot Shuttle SL Team, I think, or maybe Race. I can't remember. And it's around $8,300, I believe. It's mostly SLX and XT components. If you've got lots of money and you want to spend it, this is a great bike. It really is. Especially if you don't want it to A, look like a big burly e-bike, or B, to feel like it's got so much bloody power. Like, I don't need this much power. And I really felt that. In terms of the power itself, the lightweight bikes now that are coming out, I think that's the way to go. Like the Shuttle SL, I definitely much preferred riding it overall than the Shuttle AM. I like the look of it more. It was much more nimble and playful. Felt like a regular bike, but I didn't love the Fazua engine as much. I love the ring, that better than the tapping features on the Shuttle AM or on the Instinct or Altitude power plays. If you don't need a bike to like just plow through like the Altitude or the new Pivot Shuttle LT, which I think is 170, 160 and like maybe 64 at most head tube angle, those kind of bikes just plow through stuff up and down, full powered. This one is, again, it's more like riding a trail bike where you got to pick your lines just a little bit more, but it feels like a regular bike. But it also feels a little sketchier than having that heavy duty 48, 50, 52 pound sled. It's not going to be as forgiving, if you will, the Shuttle SL. To sum up, I would say the Pivot Shuttle SL is definitely right up at the top of a bike that I hopefully will get very soon. But my challenge with it is, besides the cost, if I'm getting an e-bike, do I want it to feel very similar to my regular trail bike? Or do I want it to feel more like the Yeti SB150 that I used to ride, which is more of a plower, more of a doer, it'll just go through everything and give you that extra power to get up and around things. And that's what I'm kind of struggling with this bike. I really liked it. I didn't quite like the smoothness as much of it. Again, I'll do a separate video comparing it with the Altitude that I just rode. That would be my challenge with this bike, is that if you want a bike that feels like a regular bike, that looks like a regular bike, then get it if you've got the money. Or maybe go with the lower version, the SLX XT component version. But do you want it to feel like your regular trail bike? Or do you want something that's different, that's gonna plow through things more and really you take most advantage of that engine? And that's what I'm kind of struggling with right now. Get out and demo an e-bike, try it out, and really try out a light version like the Pivot Shuttle SL, like the Specialized Turbo Levo SL or Canevo SL, or even the Orbea Rise. Compare that, one of those or multiple if you can, versus a more high-powered bike like the Rocky Mountain Instinct or Altitude Power Plays or the regular version Specialized Turbo Levo. So try those out and see. I look forward to your thoughts. I really like this bike and I'm definitely scratching my head. I just have to sell my house to buy it. On another note, I'll see you next time. Peace.